Well, obviously short form, but you have to do it right. And honestly, no hate, but the kids that really want to start it, but like don't really care about growing with the client's brand, they're like, I'm just going to get rich quick. They're already destroying the space. They're ruining clients' brands. They're ruining, my opportunity to obtain clients, right?
Trying to scale now. I used to have a partner. He's not here anymore, so it's kind of like a restructuring right now. And so I'm getting ready to finally, I've got some good systems trying to scale. I run a marketing newsletter. What else? Graduated college last year. Anyway, yeah, man, trying to just grow this podcast and get some more people like you on here and get some different insight into, agency world and just marketing in general. So thank you for coming on the pod, brother.
Yeah, bro, it's a pleasure. This is actually like my first official podcast, so it's definitely a great place to start. Yeah.
Let's go, man. Let's go. Excited.
And this month is like a big push for my brand, so this is one of many this month.
Well, I'm happy this can be your first podcast, bro. I'm excited.
Sure.
I got some good questions for you, man. So let's get into it, man. I'll kind of leave the introduction to you mainly, but go ahead and tell us who you are, how old you are, where you're from, and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, so my name's Nick Lauer. I am just turned 19 years old. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. A little bit about me is you just said you graduated from college. I just dropped out of college, so it's kind of reversed. I also just moved out of my parents' house, got my own place. So now I guess I'm an official adult, which is it's been a journey, that's for sure. But essentially, I run an SMMA, as you said, like everyone else does. But I run a short-form content agency, and a lot of people are like, oh, so you just edit videos. And I'm like, no, we are a short-form content agency. So, we edit content, we post it for them, we have content coaching. It's from A to Z. So it's been very unique experience.
Well, cool, man, and congrats on all the success. Not a lot of 19-year-olds can say that they've dropped out successful. They're moving on. So, congrats, man. Where'd you go to college?
Middle Tennessee State University. Yeah, nice, MTSU.
Man. Nice. So I have first of all, I don't know if I told you this before I started recording, but I'm from Atlanta, and so I grew up in Atlanta, but I went to a small college right outside of UGA, so like Athens, Georgia, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
And so I had a buddy growing up. He was one of my roommates in college. He grew up in Johnson City. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that's about 4 hours east. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think he was touching the North Carolina border, but
yeah.
He lived right next to was it not Middleton? No, it was Eastern. I'm sorry, it was Eastern Tennessee or something like that. Anyway, man, super cool.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So Nashville, you like Nashville?
Bro, it's amazing. Everyone says it's like the perfect place to be if you want to go to LA, but you're not ready, or if you want to go to New York. Bro, it is booming like crazy. Like sky rises left and right, people moving in. It's pretty crazy.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta right now. I'm trying to figure out long term where I want to be. Nashville is definitely an option. So, love to hear that it's booming. But bro, let's get right into it, man. I super excited to just kind of pick your brain on some stuff, and I always like to get younger people, and I would consider I'm a young person. I'm 23 years old, but having a 19-year-old on is very, very cool. And there is a little bit of a generational gap already. Even the people that are 16 years old compared to you is a huge difference. And I feel like the 4 years separating us is also a huge difference. But where did you, I guess first hear about short form agencies and I guess SMMAs in general? I know a lot of people go the Iman Gadzhi route. I was one. I was a product. You kind of get into it and get suckered into it, and then you get addicted. But where'd you get started? And what was the moment where you were like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this full time?
Yeah, so it's a very unique experience. I tell people, obviously, it's more than a few month process. It's, things added up. But essentially, before I got into the agency space, I ran my own media business here in Nashville, Middle Tennessee, where I was filming for like my high school, businesses, athletes, the whole 9 yards. And I got like really cool opportunities to film at festivals for like Young Gravy, DJ Snake, and I was like, this is cool, but I really want to slow down, master a craft, and scale it. And then summer of last year, after I graduated high school, was when I really took time to sit down and figure out, okay, what am I good at? What can I learn? and I stumbled across Iman Gadji's agency nav course. Fun fact, I took it, but I only did 43% of it. It's not even finished. So I took that, and I learned like the basic foundational principles of SMMA. But during that process, because of my media business, I got the opportunity to to help a podcast called The Raw Room, help them grow. And they didn't have any short form content. And I was like, there's this thing called short form content. Why don't we try it? And they went from 3,000 subscribers to 50,000 in 28 days with that. And these are NFL players too. So it was a really neat experience. And I was like, I just grew them from this to that. No one's seen that before. So I think it's time that I try to like slow down, package this, and sell it. So at the same time I was growing them, learning the agency space, started networking with more people. And then by December of last year, I just started really testing the waters, doing outreach, landed the first client, and then the rest is history.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I'm always interested too. You talk about outreach. I feel like, one of the things I preach on my channel is everybody will tell you what the best form of outreach is. And what I try to do is give you options. So it's like, this guy over here is going to tell you cold calling is the one true outreach method. There's no other way. This guy's going to tell you cold email. This guy's going to tell you DMing and looms and stuff like that. What is, what's the path you found, and where is your agency now? Because I'm always interested. For me personally, my agency has definitely changed in our outreach systems from when I started to where it is now. So I'm always interested, what's your main, client acquisition system right now?
Yeah, so like you said, our systems have definitely evolved. I will say my first client, what I did, and this is crazy, is I went through and I searched up like every financial podcast. You got like Luke Belmar, you got Sebastian, Jordan Welsh, and I like looked up all of these. And I found the emails to the podcast. And, bro, I made like 7-minute looms saying, here's your podcast. This is what I've done. It sucks. I can fix it. And then I went through and drew on my whiteboard and was like, hey, Will Ross podcast, read my email. And I landed my first client doing that, which was kind of funny. So that was like the unprofessional, not understanding how to actually do outreach. But then where we landed a lot of clients was from a client acquisition system where we had a VA DMing all the time. And then within that message always evolved. We always had to test different things. But now, to be fair, it's really pretty much inbound because I built my personal brand out so well. My identity is short form content, is, growing brands, podcasts, coaches. So really right now it's just pretty much all inbound and word of mouth, which I tell people is the best type of lead you can get.
Yeah, man, anything you don't have to pay for is ideal, bro. So that leads perfectly into what my next question was going to be. But I came across your Instagram. I think is where I found you initially. I could be wrong on that. I think I found you on Instagram, but 4,000 followers. I think almost at 1,000 on YouTube. How have you been able to grow your personal brand as of right now? And kind of a follow-up question is, how are you planning to grow in 2023? And maybe what are some goals? I know that's kind of like a 3-step question, but we'll start with how are you able to grow to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I want to say when I started at Agency Nav, I had maybe 1.3K on Instagram, and that's high school friends, family, whatever. And like you said, I'm probably at 4.1 right now. The way I grew it really was, man, that's kind of a tough question. Networking with a lot of people and kind of off the bat asserting dominance in my niche, in my service. Because I learned that business is a very nasty game, and if I'm going to do it, I have to do it right. And because of the dominance I've asserted in the short form world, I can't say I'm the best. There's a lot of really good guys out there. But the way I've kind of done world branding, so short form king, Fiverr Rat, stuff like that, it sparked controversy. But on the flip side, it sparked a lot of credibility, and a lot of kids started to respect that and just follow it. So, from a quantifiable aspect, gaining numbers of followers was just from networking, going on lives with people, following, and then, YouTube on the back end has been running, and it just started to take off. So that's funneled a lot of followers as well. And Definitely. Iman Gadji has literally just shouted me out in his video the other day. So I got a lot of traction from that. Yeah.
That's cool, man. How, like, what was that like? I didn't see that.
So it's technically the second time. The first time he's done it, he just flashed like one of my wins because, I post all my wins in agency nav still just, because they helped me get to where I am today. So got to give them the credit. But ironically, the building I moved into in Nashville, one of the Grow Your Agency coaches, like the top dogs, lives here too. And I like posted a thing on agency nav like this. And I'm like, I moved out of my house, blah, 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 thanks to the team. And the coach that lives here, John Daines, he was like, what the heck? I live here too. And he like showed Iman and stuff. And in Iman's latest video, how to get rich in your 20s, near the end, he was like talking about different students' success. And he's like, yeah, here's Nick. Nick moved into a skyrise apartment in Nashville, and then he transitioned. He's like, ironically, the apartment he lives in, John Daines, our coach, lives in. And I don't watch Iman's videos anymore, to be honest. Like, it's kind of, I know what to do, and if there's like a video maybe about monk mode or something, I'll watch it just to refresh my brain, but I don't watch it, bro. And I woke up the other day to so many random DMs. You're in Iman's video. You're in Iman's video. And I was like, what? And I saw it. I was like, I guess I am.
That is pretty cool, man. And I agree too. I'm not, I don't keep up with him as much as I used to, because it is mostly advice for people that are kind of like, I guess, where we were in like the most like not arrogant way ever. But it's like, he kind of just is coaching people. And so it's like, once we get to a certain level, really the only thing I listen to now is like financial podcasts, marketing podcasts, different things, my own podcast, like different things like this, and, I think it's super cool, man. Congrats on that. I know that probably drove some good business for you, but
it did. Probably too much.
Dude, that's crazy, man. The coincidence on that, man. Just living in the same building, especially with the amount of sky rises here in the Southeast, is crazy.
For sure.
For a 19-year-old growing your personal brand, what are some goals you got, man? What is and how are you going to get there? Because you seem to already have a good, head on your shoulders. And I think that can drive traffic, in one way, because I feel like something that holds, my channel against some others is like, I actually have confidence. I have like, I have a passion for this stuff, and I can see the same kind of thing in your content. But what separates, I guess, you from another person in growing a personal brand, and what are your goals for the end of the year?
Yeah, I'll start with what separates me apart. I was talking about this. I talked to a lot of people, but one of my agency friends that lives here, we went out to dinner last night, and I was talking to him because we both took Iman's course, like joined at the same time, joined the consulting program, and then it turns out he lives down the street, so we finally met up. And I was talking to him, and I was like, we've got these amazing guys, Iman, Jordan Welsh, Luke Belmar, the whole 9 yards, but they are so successful now that there's almost a big gap of like, here's these kids that want to learn, and they feel too intimidated or not good enough to, actually be successful from their knowledge, which isn't true. At the end of the day, what I say is we're all given the same tools. It just comes down to what we build with the tools. And, a lot of reasons that they can't build a masterpiece is because of limiting beliefs or just the way they perceive these influencers, right? So my goal is to really bridge that gap. Be like, listen, guys, I was just in high school. I was, living a typical life, but I just sat down, first mastered mindset, because I went through a lot the past year and a half to get here. So I had to master mindset, and then I applied X, Y, and Z. It's really not that complicated. You just have to, lock in, build your brand, build X, Y, and Z, your systems, your automations. So my goal is to really bridge that gap and make it as simple and clear as possible. So from like an accomplishment standpoint, that's where I'm trying to go with it. Right now, I'm trying to niche more towards short form content because there's a big need for that. A lot of kids think short form content should be just editing. It can be, but the problem with that is they outsource it, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm a big fan about in-house teams, about growing with your clients' brands, because if you outsource to Fiverr, well, you don't know when you're going to get the video. You don't know if it's going to match the style of what the client wants, and then when you get it, you paid for the video. Like, it's just a mess, right?
Right.
So from an accomplishment standpoint, I want to like bridge that gap and be like a brother to everyone. Just be like, bro, I'm here with you. We're going to grow together. Now, from a numbers standpoint, YouTube, the goal is to hit 1K by the end of this month, which is crazy to say because last month I was at like 100.
Yeah.
Instagram 10K by the end of the year. I think that's very feasible. And then I'm not too worried about TikTok. It's not something I really want to grow on, but I think if you can master Instagram and YouTube, then you've got a solid social proof.
Yeah, absolutely. And Instagram is something that I'm trying to grow as well. I reached out to you for my actual personal account, but I do have like a marketing personal brand type thing I'm trying to grow.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. It's interesting the way social media is going right now. It's seems almost pay to win now with like, you know, Twitter Blue being a thing. And I don't know if you heard, but Instagram's annoying. Doing the same thing now. And
yes.
I don't know. What are your opinions on that? I'm interested to get people's perspective on it, because it's like, it's funny because something like that'll come out. Like when Twitter Blue was announced, it's like, but I'm not going to pay for that. And then it's like, it's got these features of like, you're going to be the first one noticed. You're going to be ahead of everybody in the comments. You get like verification, and you're almost forced to pay, which is such a, I don't know, man. It feels like a cop out. What's your opinion on that? Because it's like,
yeah.
You know,
so I could care less about Twitter Blue. Instagram, when Zuck announced that, bro, I was so mad because Instagram is a whole nother ballgame. If you got that check mark, it means like you've built an empire. Like you are a master at your craft, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're an athlete. And it just takes away the entire purpose of it. Like one of my goals this year was to get verified, you know, growing my personal brand, networking, like working very hard. And now it can just be handed to any kid. I will say I probably will buy it just to, you know, once again, assert that dominance now that there's not really any dominance. But definitely not a fan, but it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy in.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to do it, but you're almost, you know, like I said, like you're almost forced to, because if you don't, like, okay, you know, the human mind is like, I'll come across, you know, Nick Lauer's account, and if it's, you know, verified, I'm going to take that over Will Ross, who's not verified.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Even if it is like, let's say, even if I did provide better value, better content, I'm just going to watch your stuff more, and it'll probably be pushed more because you're paying for it. I mean, like Zuck is the king of like, I guess, favorited algorithms. So like,
right.
if you're paying his platform, brother, he's going to push you before me. It's interesting. What, you know, have you explored Twitter at all? And is that something you want to eventually get on?
I've explored it a little bit. One of my agency friends is actually a ghostwriter, and he's very new in the space. So I let him use me as proof of concept, and he got me a lot of traction, but it's just one of those things where I don't really care too much about Twitter, but I did see the upside and a lot of value in growing on there. It might be something I tap into later, but my head is just like in 40 million places right now.
I don't blame you, brother. I used to have one, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but if you're listening, you haven't heard this. I'm banned on Twitter now.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a Twitter, and it was going really well. I had a few hundred followers within a month. Like, I was just growing organically, providing marketing content. The second I shared my first podcast, so like a YouTube link, they banned me. And with no warning, with no nothing. And I, you know, obviously had an appeal, and pretty much they said, I think it was, and I have the timeline, they sent me like this email on Saturday saying like, your appeal has been denied, like you can't share links or whatever. And I was like, I never got told you can't share links from other stuff. And then on the following Monday, they released a new terms of service saying now you can't share like third-party stuff, like YouTube links. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I knew that, bro. You didn't even tell me before you banned. So like, I'm in this beef with Twitter right now, where, you know, it's like I'm trying to debate whether I should get back on, but I've got like it went really well for a month, and my goal for 1 year was to get up to 10K, and I definitely would have hit it, because like any social media platform, it's a snowball effect, and you know, it got me my first two podcast guests, Caden Char and Andre Hakel Jr., who was one of the founders of Client Ascension, but. Man, it was it's interesting, man. And so anyway, I'll get off my soapbox and kind of get more into this thing. But
good.
Man, growing in 2023 is harder than ever, especially in the SMMA space. You know, the saturation is there. I know, especially for short form content. You know, yes. I'm a small creator, and I get hit up 3 or 4 times a day from people with terrible offers using the same script. How are you differentiating yourself? And I know you maybe touched on it a little bit earlier, but what separates you and your agency from a surface level perspective, as opposed to, you know, George Smith out in Washington who offered me a deal yesterday? You know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously a different ball game now because of the proof of concept, the profiles I've built. But I will say, going into it, I had this case study already of I worked with NFL players. I grew them 3K to 50K in 28 days. I will say I don't work with them anymore just because I was like, I gotta create my own agency and do this. And they actually passed 100K like the next month as well. Man. So they applied the same systems and concepts.
I want to cut you off real quick. Who were they?
Go for it. The Raw Room. So Darren Bates and Jalen Collins, NFL veterans. Yep.
Cool, man. Sorry, I was curious. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And another thing too, and I can't really disclose it, but their ad revenue, and that's what I'm big about, and I'll tap into that, bro. It went from 2 figures a month, so $20, $40 to big numbers a month.
I'm sure.
So that was very cool. But going back to that. That's just what I utilized to get a lot of clients. I mean, I guess I could say I was a little more fortunate than some of these other people. But, what I kind of preach is never do a free trial. Always do a paid trial, or, I don't mind free trials if it's like a business, or a friend or a family. But having a case study or some type of proof of concept up front will get you so much further ahead and a solid personal brand. When I was reaching out to people, they saw my Instagram. They saw I was doing X, Y, and Z. Obviously, it's built out a lot better now. But because of my personal brand, I've attracted so many clients, and it just adds that credibility right off the bat. And that's literally what my agency does, and I'll jump into that now. The goal is ultimately, it is not to edit. That is the surface level. That is like very childish short-form content mind. The goal is to utilize short-form content as a funnel to bring in people, bring in audience, a credible, a loyal audience, and to convert them into paying customers. Whether that's getting ad revenue, whether that's joining their course, X, Y, and Z. That is what my team does. And, there's different pillars on how we do that. Like I said, we have the top tier editing, and I take pride in it. With that, we create a special style for each client. We curate it for them. We can post for them too, because it's very time consuming. You gotta provide the value where value is needed. And then the biggest part is the content coaching. So like I said, A to Z, I can teach them how to sit in front of a camera like this, the right setup. We can literally write their scripts from them. So like the hooks, the information, the call to actions. And ironically, if you read an article about me that was in the New York Weekly, we signed a flexibility coach named Josh Fearfit, and the second video we did for him, it's at like 350,000 views right now, and it was awful. It was like surface level editing at the time, but we helped him script it, and the way in which the video flowed, it kept the retention, it had a strong hook, and his call to action was like, DM me fit or flexibility, and because of that video alone, he booked like 20 calls, closed maybe 5 to 7, and his ticket is like 3.7K. So he made like $20,000 off that one video. So that is what my team is all about, is utilizing it as a funnel to turn views into dollars.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And kind of like what you're describing, like a done for you type agency.
Yeah.
And the less that they have to do, the better. I love it. And I also, I liked how you said you have a specific style for everybody, because, there are people that DM me and I'm like, or send me an email and I'm like, okay, send me your portfolio. And it's like, they're all the same thing. It's like always the pop-up words. And it's like, and it works sometimes, but it's just like, if you have the same exact thing for every single client you're doing, and you're not like creating your own system for everybody, I think there's like, it just hurts your portfolio, in my opinion. Whereas if you, like you said, with your agency, you create like a unique style based on their niche topic and their personality. That's huge, man. So congrats on that, because it's rare nowadays to find a short form agency that is any different. So it seems like you've kind of breaking that barrier. So congrats.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, because like I said, there's a lot of other people that are dominating the space better than me. And they take, and I can't really say what they do, but they take a different route with how they do the styles or like the systems and processes. And the beauty of a short form content agency is if you can do it right, you are literally creating a new road that's never been made ever in the history of the universe. Because like the systems I've built, the style stuff like that. No one's done it before, and it's very cool to do that. But yeah, with like the special styles, I will say for the most part we kind of use the same font.
Yeah.
For most clients, with podcasts sometimes it's different, but what separates us apart from the editing aspect is like, we use client B-roll. That is huge because it adds that personalization. So if Josh is talking about, bending over and stretching your hammies, then we literally implement a video of him doing it because it starts that credibility. So that's something really cool that we do. We can do personal pop-ups as well. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Very cool, man. I love to hear it. In terms of SMMA and I guess the agency space in general, one of the big things right now is short form content, and paid ads is alive and well. Where do you see, I guess, the service aspect of SMMAs going in the next coming years? Because back in 2018 there was no better time to start a Facebook ads agency, and now if you try to start a Facebook ads agency, you're like, have you seen that Buzz Lightyear meme where it's like one guy and then like the whole like grocery shop is like Buzz Lightyear? It's like, I can scale your agency with Facebook ads, and it's like this zooms out to like the Buzz Lightyear thing. I think it's hilarious. But like, back then that was great to start. Nowadays it'll take you a full year to get the smallest client with that because it's so saturated. Where do you see the agency space going, and maybe what are some services that I guess are a little bit untapped that if people don't know where to start, they could start?
Very good question. Well, obviously short form, but you have to do it right. And honestly, no hate, but the kids that really want to start it, but like don't really care about growing with the client's brand, they're like, I'm just going to get rich quick. They're already destroying the space. They're ruining clients' brands. They're ruining, my opportunity to obtain clients, right? But other than that, I don't know. That's a very difficult question. I feel like, maybe more from the creation side of things, content creation, anything like that. But I will say this, what will separate, or what the next wave will be of like, going from 10 to 100 is if you can utilize a lot of AI in your agency. So maybe, the next wave of like, being the best, actually not being oversaturated, is somehow being like, yeah, we utilize, and this is just a very broad example, we utilize ChatGPT to do X, Y, and Z and get you X, Y, and Z results. Maybe something like that. Or, if you really want to be big ball and you develop your own AI and you utilize that for agencies as well. And I will say this, rumor has it that the short form empire, which is my agency, we may or may not have access to a short form AI that no one else does. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. No, I think you're right, man. I like the insight on AI because I think a lot of people, and this is the way I describe it to people that I work with as well, is like I work with a huge company that, they have a ton of copywriters, and like the copywriters themselves will reach out to me and be like, you're an agency owner. Like, are your copywriters being fired? Am I going to be fired? And I'm like, look, the way that I look at it, it's like the internet. When the internet first came out, everybody was like, oh, this is going to kill brick and mortar stores. This is going to kill my business. Like, everything's going to be online. But if you take an approach where you use it you use it as an asset instead of like, I'm going to stay away from that, or like, I'm not going to use that, then you're going to be at the top end, when it's all said and done. Like, think about the people that were in internet early, like Amazon, and the social media that was early, like Facebook, that's obviously now the biggest, like Meta is like the biggest thing. And all those people got their foot in the door when something that wasn't saturated became saturated. So like, when Amazon got into it, selling things online wasn't crazy. And then now they're like, they're here. Whereas, if you can start using AI and you can be different with how you use AI and kind of stand out from what a lot of people are doing, in 3-4 years when this stuff is mainstream, you're going to be like the Iman, you know what I mean? So it's like, and don't be afraid of it. Just continue innovating and find different ways to use it. I love that. I use, I'm trying to think. I use ChatGPT definitely, but I also use. Are you familiar with Instantly AI for like email stuff?
I have that, bro. I have that.
Man. Yeah. That thing is sweet. I'm actually going to reach out to. I've been wanting to, but I haven't yet. I want to reach out to one of the owners of Instantly and have him on the pod. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, like if you're not using stuff like that, man, you're getting left behind. And what I tell people is we are in a day and age where if you're manually sending emails, you're losing. And while the only thing I would say is if you don't have the money to, that's one thing. But if you even have $100 to spend in 1 month, put it all towards manual or automated stuff, man, because that's just going to put you ahead of the game. All that to say, I agree. AI is the next wave, and if you can hop on it, generational wealth is on the other side. So, very, very cool. I think there's a lot of potential in SMMA still, and it's always called SMMA, but it's just the agency model. People talk about social media marketing agency or social media management agency, and that's obviously saturated. But no, man, I love it. I guess taking a step back from the agency world, kind of in the other business aspects of Nick Lauer's life, what is what kind of businesses are you dipping your feet into? And if you don't have any side projects or side businesses or things like that, what's an industry or something that you want to get into in the future?
Man, I'm about to blow everyone's socks off. I have a lot of side projects, and they are the most random things. So if you want me to, I can go through all of them, a few of them, whatever.
Let me hear your craziest ones.
Okay. So it's been a year now. I actually am on the marketing team. I am the community manager and second in marketing for a video game called Arcade Galaxy. So essentially it's a galaxy, and on every planet is a different type of game. And the first planet that we're focusing on is like a Mario Kart type theme, and you have like what's called a cube animal, and you race it. It's kind of like I could relate it maybe to like Fall Guys, that type of style.
Okay.
But we've been working on that for a year now. I literally went to Spain, skipped 10 days of high school last year to go to Spain for a conference for that. So that's probably one of the biggest and most random one too. What else? I do a lot of things locally. Like I'm about to, so Nashville, if I say Nashville, everyone's like, oh, you get drunk and party on Broadway. Like that's the stereotype. That's, all the white girls come down for their whatever. Right?
Yeah, all the Atlanta girls, bro. All the Atlanta girls go there too, man.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be in charge of the social media side of a project that we're doing where we're shifting the stereotype of more of like first class entrepreneur type vibes for Nashville. So, we're going to come out with like a magazine and then an app where you can see like, where's the best, high value party, I guess is the way to say that. Nice restaurant deals. So that's another local thing. Another local thing on top of that is I'm actually going to build a podcast studio for local businesses here and then run all the short form content on the back end through my agency. So
that's amazing, man. I love it, man. That's so cool, bro. I'm envious of all that stuff. I want to start dipping my feet into different stuff too, bro. Everything I own is like just marketing related. That's so boring.
It can get that way.
It can, man.
Yeah.
Podcast studio. I actually just had a podcast this morning with a guy that runs a video production company. I want to learn more about kind of creating a podcast studio. Is that something that you're going to actually buy the property of, or are you going to lease a property, or how do you know how the logistics of that is going to work?
So long term, especially in Nashville, it would be smart to just buy property and build, but it's not something that I'm going to be like crazy passionate about. It's kind of like, okay, I want to network with more businesses in person. I want to help grow them, build a better network in Nashville and Tennessee. So, how I see it, and we're in the very early stages, just renting a space where the client can just pull up, walk in, film, leave, like a dentist's office, like very simple and chill. So, renting a space, getting equipment, and then just acquiring clients and, executing. It's a fairly simple process if you think about it. And the beauty of it, I wouldn't say multi-level marketing. It's a very good ecosystem that I'm building, because now I have a new client in person, but a new client for the podcast studio and my short form agency. Because like I said,
absolutely,
in the packages, they're going to get short form. And, there's a few in-person podcast studios. I don't know of many in Nashville, but I can't say I know of any that actually provide short form content for their clients. So
yeah, definitely. That's cool, man. I want to eventually, I've got big goals for this as well. And it's definitely something that I think that if you're big, unless are you familiar with My First Million?
I don't think I am.
Sam Parr and Sean Peary, I think is his name, but you should check them out. After this, go check it out. It's called My First Million. They both have, they do it virtually, but the production is amazing. And it's like nothing like this. It's like way more professional. They have amazing backgrounds. Yeah. The equipment is great. And I think in most cases, a lot of, I think podcasts thrive in the actual, in-person stuff. And if you have a good production studio and that goes a long way is what I'm trying to say. Right. So trying to establish it virtually, but man, having something down here in Atlanta would be sick one day. And if you need a guest, brother, I'm happy to hop on, bro. I'm happy to hop on.
So between me and you, the goal, I can't expose that yet. Not yet.
Okay. But we'll talk off the pod. We'll talk off the pod.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I will say the goal this month, I'm doing monk mode for March. If no one knows who that is, it's more of like it's a dopamine detox to very like focus in on your goals, execute. But with that, this is a big personal brand month because I'm actually creating in SMMA Discord, and I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, he's selling a course now. Yes, it's a course, but it's more of a community, and it's literally where they get to learn from all my mistakes. Like, this is where I lost clients. This is where I lost 5 figures. So I look at it more as like a guide in a community. So I'm working on that, but with that, I have to do a big personal brand push. So I'm doing a lot of in-person podcasts, and I have a studio built into my apartment. So if you need it, dude. We got a spot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's sick. That's sick, bro. Well, man, I'll kind of wrap this up, and it's been a pleasure, bro. But I always like to ask this question, and you can share if you want. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to at all. But what is your revenue goal, I guess, with all businesses encompassing by the end of 2023?
Okay, so you're saying by like a total revenue collected this year,
like for your businesses, everything that you've got your foot in the door, I guess everything that you own, what liquid will you see by December 31st at midnight 2023?
Well, I will say this, at this rate, we're already on track for Shortform Empire to be a multi 6-figure agency this year. We're very close to, I'll just say that. So with Shortform, that I'd like to say $500,000. $500,000 is fairly realistic, and maybe 1/5, 2/5 of that is from Shortform Empire and things that spark from that, and then the other half is like these other projects that I talked about. But I think $500,000 is very, very realistic.
Yeah, absolutely, man. 19 years old, $500,000 at the end of the year goal. I think you're going to be fine, Nick. Well, brother, thanks so much for hopping on, bro. I think there's tons of value in this, and I'll link Nick's socials down below. If you got anything you want to share as well, I'll put it down there. But absolute pleasure having you on, man. Hopefully we can do something like this in person sometime.
Yeah, bro, I appreciate it, and I will say I'll get, if you can get the footage to me, I'll get my team to make some short form content for us both, and we can crank it out for each other. Yes, sir. I appreciate it, bro.
Let's do it. Of course, bro.